Well, hello and welcome to the Wine Access Unfiltered podcast. It is summertime, it's warm, the living's easy, I'm warm, and I'm still drinking red wine, which is a good sign. And the only reason I feel like I can do that is because we have so many great light-bodied red wines that I'm excited to drink for summer. I know some of you who are members of the Wine Access Unfiltered podcast wine club should have been excited to see not one, but two red wines in your shipment. And that is because, like, I believe that rosé should be continued drinking all season long. I also believe that red wine can be consumed in the summer months as well. But that's not the focus of this episode today. Well, I guess it can be part of it because my guest also loves drinking red wine in warm climates. But the focus of today is talking about a grape that I know a lot of you love, which is Pinot Noir, but we're going to be talking about it from other places. We've talked about it from the Willamette Valley. We've talked about it from California. Of course, we've touched on the mother of all Burgundy. No, the mother of all Pinot, which is Burgundy. And today we're going to talk about another place that I know some of you are thinking to yourselves, is she really truly obsessed with this place? And the answer is yes, I am truly obsessed with Germany and all things German wine. So we're going to be talking about German Pinot Noir, also known as Spätburgunder. But since I am no German wine expert, I brought in some help and a friend who also loves drinking, as I mentioned, red wine and eating food and coming to Philly and hanging out with me and eating cheesesteaks. So please welcome to the show, Zack Musick, Director of Education for the German Wine Collection. And, just a great friend and fellow bon vivant. What's up, Zack?
What's up? Wow, that was such a nice introduction. I think that's the greatest introduction I've received. And I think first and foremost, before being a lover of wine, I really did love coming to Philly with you and just eating through the city. Yes. It was incredible.
Yeah, we had so much fun eating cheesesteaks, went to Bedia, got some tomato pie and pizza.
Amazing.
Shout out to De Bruno Brothers for having a quality selection of wines that we could choose from to drink outside, probably illegally on the street. So thanks for that.
Seriously though, like a phenomenal selection for like it being so small. Like really, I mean, it took me a while. Like I left you sitting out on the park bench because I couldn't make a decision. And then even once I did choose, I love that they're like, do you want it? We have a bottle that's slightly chilled if you want to use that.
Oh, you didn't tell me that part.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I didn't think to ask how it was chilled.
Yeah. I think I love that that's the way kind of we're moving as a wine drinking society. Like people are finally like, oh, let's put a little bit of a chill on this. Because it's summer and people want chillable reds. Speaking
of chill, if you have the wine in question for today, which is the Rings Spätburgunder, and you haven't put a chill on it yet, I do encourage you to put, you don't have to. But if you're drinking this and it's warm outside, you're having a snack, it might be nice with a slight chill. You don't have to get it super cold, but like a nice chill would be great. So grab that for yourselves. I want to talk a little bit about Pinot Noir because, you were a Somm, are a Somm. I don't know. I still kind of call myself a Somm, but I don't work in a restaurant anymore, so it's a little weird.
Yeah.
But, coming up in the wine world as a baby Somm, Pinot Noir is often the grape that changes a lot of people. It's the grape that tends to express its place the most. And when people talk about terroir, we usually point to Pinot to be like, well, you want to taste terroir, Pinot is usually the place to start. But was that the case for you? Was Pinot Noir a grape that you enjoyed? Was there a particular bottle that stopped you in your tracks?
As you're getting into wine and like becoming a sommelier, I was pretty young. I was 21. When I first became a sommelier. And so, for me, it was like drinking from a fire hose, and I think you taste Pinot Noir and you're like, oh, that's great. But then you kind of move on to those other varieties pretty quickly and you start tasting Nebbiolo and, these other grapes that are slightly similar, but different. And you start going down this path of just drinking everything that you can possibly get your hands on, anything that you've never heard of. You want to get it by the glass. You want to taste it at least once or twice. And, but I think all sommeliers will agree with me. Like you come back to Pinot Noir because of the way that it displays terroir. And that's what makes it so cool and interesting. And I don't think there's not a lot of red varieties. I would say there are no red varieties out there like Pinot Noir that can grow in so many different soil types, and display it in such a transparent way. And I think that alone makes it one of the most exciting, because, you hear about, oh, Pinot Noir is being grown at this place on this soil type, and you're excited to taste it and drink it, because you know that it's going to kind of show that place. It's going to have that sense of place, as well as that sense of time. It really does display vintage variation in a very transparent way.
Yeah. And we've talked about Pinot Noir a number of times for various different reasons on this podcast. And you go through the library and you'll find lots of episodes on Pinot, and it's for good reason, right? It's because it can be grown in so many different places, on so many different soils, express itself in so many different ways. It comes in at so many different price points. It can be paired with tons of different things. And lest we forget that it can be made into sparkling wine, like it is in champagne.
Totally. It is really exciting. And I know before, you asked me what's kind of the aha Pinot Noir, that really got me excited. And, obviously everybody kind of talks about those, Armand Rousseau, DRC moments, the first time I ever had William Sellium, and, there's these amazing producers, but a lot of the time, the aha Pinot Noir moments are the ones that that come out of left field. I know the first time I had Sancerre Rouge, it knocked my socks off. I had a bottle from Domaine Vacheron, and
producer.
In an era that you only associate naturally with Sauvignon Blanc, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's synonymous. It's, you have a bottle of Sancerre, no one thinks oh, Pinot Noir?
Yeah.
It's oh, you're drinking.
No one assumes a red wine's coming when you order Sancerre.
No, absolutely not, And so that was one for me, and it makes sense when you think about it. You really can't grow Pinot Noir everywhere. There are a lot of variables that come into play, but somewhere like Sancerre that, they've got limestone, it's cooler. It's slightly mediated by the river. And this winery is producing beautifully elegant, Pinot Noir with an incredible amount of finesse to it. And, I really thought that just kind of knocked my socks off. And then having something from Germany, like Meyer-Nakel for the first time, coming from an area that's so far north that you shouldn't be growing Pinot Noir. I think a lot of people were shocked that, in the R, people are growing red fruit, anything red in general. But it makes sense for them. And when you go there and you can kind of see the steep slopes off of the R River, you can feel how warm it is standing in the vineyard sites, and you start to understand. But what's in the bottle is truly incredible.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Pinot Noir as a grape. So for those who maybe this is, a grape that you haven't explored in full, maybe it's something that you just haven't stopped to take a little look at. Pinot Noir, the origins are in Burgundy in France, or at least one of the origins. Burgundy is probably considered not only the birthplace, but also the benchmark for Pinot Noir. It's, when you talk to any producer of Pinot Noir, you mentioned William Sellium earlier, they were absolutely going to Burgundy and trying to not replicate, but they were drawing inspiration from Burgundy. And that still is very much true today. You see that in the Willamette Valley with a lot of the Burgundy producers going there and making their own style, but everything sort of harkens back to Burgundy. And, if you do really want to taste Pinot Noir it's so funny. I keep interchanging the two, right?
Well, you can. It's one of those things, which I think reinstills the idea that Pinot Noir, you're like Burgundy, I'm going to have a glass of Burgundy, and people are
I gotta break the habit. So anyway, so it originates there. I will tell you, not a buyer beware, but, Burgundy is a place that sort of requires a little assistance. I think it requires a guy. If you don't have deep pockets and endless amounts of money to spend and throw out the wall and be very angry, I think it requires a bit of a guide to kind of, navigate you down that rabbit hole. And so my recommendation, maybe you have one from your years working the floor. My recommendation is always, go to the restaurants, talk to the somms, go to the retail shops, talk to their buyers, and put a little plan together for yourself. If there's a restaurant that you frequent that you really like, hey, I'm really curious about Burgundy. This is what I can spend, and let them kind of help you along the way. I don't know if you have any better recommendations beyond that.
No, I mean, I think for everyone, I do it. I know that you do
Yeah.
it. We all talk to the sommeliers. It doesn't matter who you
Yes.
are, how advanced you are, how much you know. You always want to talk to the sommelier. And don't anybody that goes into a restaurant that has a big list and says, oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Like just ask the questions. I mean,
Yeah.
save yourself some time. Save some time for your guests, especially like. If it's a big list, you're going to be going through it for a while, but if there's something specific that you're looking for and you have a price point, and most of the time on those bigger lists, there's something that's maybe off the list, but the sommelier that is there working the floor knows that list like the back of his hand, and he will immediately kind of put you in the right direction and usually give you a couple options where you can be like, oh, what are the differences between this and this? And I'm really looking for this price point, and 9 times out of 10, you'll get the bottle exactly what you're looking for, and I think that that's really exciting. In terms of buying, right now it is tough with Burgundy. It's in terms of price point. There's not a lot out there. I tend to focus more on Coach Chalonnais. There's a handful of producers down there. Michel Sarrazin and Mercury does some really affordable bottlings that are of great quality. And so I tend to focus on that area because I'm also not making, $500,000 a year and can afford to go out and buy Chambertin on a Wednesday. Yes, exactly. Thank you. But yeah, I think there are always plenty of options. And it's also in the joy of the sommelier to be able to provide those options for you.
Totally. Hallmarks of the grape, thin-skinned. So if you're looking at your glass right now, you should be able to just barely see kind of your hands through the glass right now. So Pinot Noir in general, with some exceptions, of course, is mostly going to be, a little bit more on the translucent side. There are a lot of Pinots out there, some very famous Pinots that are a little bit more, we'll say generous with the amount of color that's in the glass. And so they might be less so. But traditionally, it's very thin-skinned grape, which creates a lighter bodied, lighter styled wine, lower tannin. So if you're not someone that loves that puckery, drying, astringent sensation that you can sometimes get with fuller bodied wines, Cabernet Sauvignon being one of them, Nebbiolo, a very high tannin grape. If those are grapes that you don't necessarily vibe with, Pinot Noir is generally a really great bet because you're likely going to have lower tannin. And then acidity. Now this can really vary according to where Pinot Noir is grown. So your cooler climate Pinots are going to give you slightly more acidity. Your warmer climate ones are going to give you a little bit less, maybe a little bit more generous with the fruit. Obviously, things can shift a little bit depending on the soil and who's making it and X, Y, Z. But generally, you can assume that Pinot Noir is going to be a little bit more on the high acid side, which is why we love it so much with food, because we love a little bit of acid to help cut through all that delicious food that we're eating.
We did a tasting menu a while back that was 6 courses, and each course was Pinot Noir. And I think a lot of people thought they were going to come in and they were going to have just a typical red Pinot Noir for each course. And I mean, how boring, how exhausting that can get. So I think myself and the sommelier did our best to, we started off with sparkling wine, which made a lot of sense.
Yep.
We moved into a white Pinot Noir, so Pinot Noir with no skin contact.
Yeah.
And so it comes off, it looks like a white wine. And then we moved into like a rosé, a lighter style Pinot from a really cool climate. And then, there was a red meat course, and we did a bigger style. We did a producer that was using roughly 100% new oak on it, coming from a warmer area. And it really, it stood up, and you still got that sense of Pinot Noir in it. I will say that you're moving away from its true identity when you're growing it in those warmer climates, because Pinot Noir really, it craves a cooler climate. And that's why we're starting to see more plantings in areas like Patagonia and Tasmania and all over Germany. Canada is producing some beautiful Pinot Noirs right now. And you're seeing that because people are realizing, this is what Pinot Noir wants. But yeah, the versatility overall is something that I always naturally associate with Pinot Noir. It's kind of a cheat code. Like if you don't know which red wine to pair, you're like, let's throw a Pinot in there. It'll work.
So let's talk about the wine in our glass, the Rings Pinot Noir, to kind of set the stage. So when we landed in Germany, we all flew into Munich.
Frankfurt.
Is that right? Frankfurt? Same. No.
Sure.
Frankfurt. I was like, Munich seems not correct. Frankfurt. We flew into Frankfurt, dropped our bags, and basically got on the bus and headed straight out to the winery that we are drinking today, which is Rings. You will notice on the label that it says Spätburgunder. Zach, you're the German wine expert here. Why don't you talk about Spätburgunder and Pinot Noir and Rings, because this is your baby.
Pinot Noir does have a rich history in Germany. It's been growing there for, hundreds of years. It's tough to kind of say exactly the date when it was first planted, but we know that, there are talks about it being planted as far back at Lake Constantine in the year 800. And so, and then after that. And so you really do see this history with Pinot Noir and Germany. They've always been kind of interconnected, especially with how close they are to France. And with most of those wine regions kind of being in the Southwest, you see a lot of Pinot Noir being planted. And up until 2005, Pinot Noir was the second most planted within the world. Germany was producing more Pinot Noir than any other country other than France. And so,
fun fact.
In 2006, we had more plantings in the Finger Lakes in Oregon. So the United States overtook Germany. And then obviously that's continuing. But there is a big focus on Pinot Noir within Germany. And you do see a lot kind of in the southern area. Most of the original plantings were done in the region of Baden. And with Rings, we're just kind of northwest of that, within the region of the Pfalz. And in this area, you see Pinot Noir planted everywhere. You see a lot of limestone, you see a lot of sand, granite, basalt, schist. And so with all these different soil types, you get a lot of different expressions of Pinot Noir, and it allows you to grow a lot of different varieties overall. And so I've really fallen in love with Pinot Noir and it within Germany. And it really has started with this kind of newer generation of winemakers. We see it a lot with Meyer-Nakel, with Rings, with Solvay, with Rebholz. The Rebholz twins trained in Burgundy multiple times, and they produce incredible Pinot Noir. Bernard Huber in Baden. There's Sebastian Furst is doing some incredible things in Franken. And so you see these fantastic producers kind of popping up in different areas. And the one common thread that they all share is that they've come to kind of the fruition that Pinot Noir doesn't do its best when you're shooting for these big, bold styles. They do best when you're looking for balance. It making a richer style or harvesting late isn't going to naturally equate to a better quality wine, but having something that is fantastically balanced, that is pretty, that has depth and complexity to it, people tend to find more enjoyment in those wines. And so a lot of these producers spend a lot of time in Burgundy, and they came back and they brought a lot of the things that they learned. One of the big things is dropping fruit, lowering yields. Obviously more fruit isn't what we want, and limiting the amount of oak that they're using. And so backing off on oak and really showing the true integrity of the grape and integrity of the site. That's really what started separating it from a lot of these other regions and what Germany was previously producing. And so with a producer like Rings, they started off in 2000, and they weren't growing any Pinot Noir. They were growing Cabernet, they were growing Merlot, Saint Laurent, Portugieser.
Crazy.
Yeah, a couple white wines here and there, but they had these sandy gravel soils, and they thought that growing Cabernet and Merlot was kind of the way to go. And they actually got some recognition for producing these grapes. Yeah. Stefan Rings started off, he was the only one that was really converting the family farm away from producing plums and apples and cherries and really everything, producing a lot of grapes that they were just kind of selling off. And he wanted to turn it from a farm to a winery.
Because their parents have started it as like a farm, right?
Oh, multiple generations of the farm in the northern Pfalz area. But obviously, over the years, there's been a lot of battles that have been fought. The 30 Years' War set them back centuries in terms of viticulture. And so finally, they're really starting to kind of come back and they're doing it in a fantastic way with a ton of different grape varieties and quality to boot. And so in 2001, once Stefan Rings really kind of started the winery, started moving forward with these different grape varieties, the rest of his family slowly kind of jumped on the bandwagon. His brother Andy had started a kind of internship at Wagner Stempel, which is another fantastic winery in the Rheinhessen,
cool.
just to the north of them.
A connect, yeah. Love it.
Yeah, so yeah, the wines are beautiful. But he had spent many years kind of training under Daniel Wagner, who was a pioneer in the Rheinhessen. And then Simona Rings, their sister, kind of took over the business side of it. And the winery just, it kind of hit the ground running. They were accepted in the VDP faster than any other producer in history. And, for those of you that aren't really aware of the VDP is a collection of the top growers in Germany that kind of formed their own club with their own laws to really kind of enhance and improve the quality of German wine and really put it on the map. And so you have to be invited in. There's no you can't just join the club and pay a membership fee or anything. You really have to be invited in over, so many perfect vintages.
And you'll see it on the label for I mean, if you look at the rings, it'll be on there. So you see it, that eagle on the top, and then it's usually on the back label as well.
Yeah. You'll see it, right at the bottom. Let's see.
And it's a great, easy, indicator of quality, in addition to seeing German Wine Collection imports it and knowing that it's great because you guys are great and you only bring great wine.
Stop it.
When you see VDP, it's an additional sign of quality as well. But yeah, I mean, I think rolling up to Rings was really interesting because as a somm, learning about Germany and German wines, the image in your head was not what we rolled up into. I was not expecting it. To me, I was like, everything's going to look like the Mosel. I mean, the river's going to be everywhere. I don't know. I have never looked at a map before.
No, I was the same way. I completely agree.
Yeah. And then you roll up and it's like, this place looks like Northern California. It's these beautiful rolling hills. There's forests. There's, even a lot of the vegetation reminded me of Northern California. Mm-hmm. And then we sat down for dinner and it was this somewhere between California and French country dinner of the most delicious vegetables and salads and pâtés and fresh bread. And I was like, oh, where's the Spätzle? I'm not mad it's not here.
Yeah.
This isn't what I had anticipated.
Is there a pork knuckle you're going to bring out?
Right.
With some schnitzel? Are you frying everything?
Yes. That was fully my anticipation. And I mean, I have to tell you, it was I was fully prepared to develop gout. I was ready for a stomach ache every night. And that was such a delightful surprise. But I think it was the first thing that signaled oh, this is why they're making these wines because, it suits this region so well. And it was, it was a little chillier there, which made sense. Also, they're moving or have moved to biodynamics, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are in no way dogmatic with their approach, but you remember driving up right on the winery, and you don't see it, right? Because they have that livable, they have the green roof.
Yes.
And so you come up behind the winery, and it looks like you're driving through the hillsides, and then you come around kind of one of the hills, and it's this huge, massive winery that's kind of built into one of the hills with that, lively, they have all those plants planted on the roof. There's no air conditioning or anything. They recycle all of the water. And so they're very conscious about their footprint, right? Their imprint on everything. So everything they do is looking at organics from a holistic perspective and making sure that, their bottles don't weigh a ton. They're not producing their Grand Cru Spätburgunder isn't in a bottle that weighs 4 pounds. And I think even outside of that, with them growing up in a home of farmers, they very much look at regenerative farming. They're looking at the cover crops that they plant in between their vines. They look at dry farming. So they dry farm everything, which is incredible because a lot of their vineyard sites sit at a higher elevation. And I've never driven up to a vineyard site and then gotten to the top of a hill and then had them be like, oh, we're dry farming. Because at that point, the water table is so far below. And so it takes a really long time. And you look at their vines and you're like, oh, this is a new vineyard site. These must be like 2-3 years old. And they're like, it is a new vineyard site. They're 10 years old, but they're so small because they're really just waiting for them to.
They've been digging year by year to get to the water. Digging,
yeah. And so they do high density plantings in a lot of these areas. So the vines keep on going deep, but they're really focusing first and foremost on quality and low intervention, both in terms of farming and winemaking. And I think that makes a big difference. I mean, obviously organics is a big part of it. No herbicides, fungicides, or pesticides. But outside of that, they really want to show that their limestone sites are perfect for Pinot Noir.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Zach, to talk a little bit about the profile of this wine. I know you're smiling at me like, hey.
It's the worst.
but I'm obviously I love the wine when you guys sent it to me, and I was super excited about it because I think one of the first things that we had talked about is what's so exciting about Pinot Noir, or we'll use it interchangeably so everyone gets comfortable with it. But Pinot Noir is Spätburgunder. Spätburgunder is Pinot Noir. They just call it Spätburgunder in Germany. One of the things that's so exciting about it is the price point. I mean, there's certainly very expensive ones in Germany, but you can get, what we would consider, for lack of a better term, truly Burgundian quality, or Burgundian styled Pinot Noir from Germany, at a fraction of the price. And we can get it down to by the glass prices. So, the hope is that while Burgundy is not going to be an affordable option for a by the glass wine or for something that's, more of a daily drinker, hopefully something like Spätburgunder can kind of fit that bill. And so when you're smelling this wine and tasting it, if this is an appealing nose and palate for you, if you're like, this is kind of my jam, maybe you should eventually segue to Burgundy. But before you get there, relish in the fact that you can be in this glass and appreciate a completely different site-specific expression of what's going on. So let's talk about what's going on in this glass.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is also really kind of important to note on that, Pinot Noir, because it does show its terroir in such a transparent way, even if you taste Pinot Noir, you have one that isn't to your liking the first time, there is one that makes sense for you. And I think the big difference in between Burgundy and German Pinot Noir is the fact that, people will wax poetic all day about the difference between Gevrey-Chambertin and Chambord-Musigny. And those two regions are very close to each other. You have Marais Saint-Denis in the middle that kind of separates those two styles, but you have this bigger, bolder, dark fruited style of Gevrey-Chambertin. And then once you get down to Chambord-Musigny, the wines are more floral, they're more red fruited, they're more delicate. But within Germany, it's huge. I mean, you talk about the far south in Baden and that volcanic soil. It's really hot. It's really sunny. And then you go all the way north. I mean, driving on the Autobahn for 3 hours, going as fast as you want. It still takes forever to get up to the R. But you get up there and it's, these blue slate soils. It's much cooler and you have a completely different style. So I think even getting into German Pinot Noir, if you've had one in the past that you don't like, or maybe even the rings isn't necessarily your style, it doesn't mean that you should kind of write off German Pinot Noir, because there are just so many different styles. There's such a wide array of this grape being planted in Germany. But speaking specifically to this area and this region and this winery, they are doing a few things that are slightly unique from, let's say, just the next winery. And one of the big things is that they are only using French clones. Everything is being hand harvested. They're using roughly 8% stem inclusion, give or take, depending on the vintage. Everything is being aged in barrique. There is essentially no new oak on this wine. Depending on the vintage, they might do a little bit more, but they're really passionate about using second, third, and fourth pass barrels. So that means that the wine's been used already to age red wine once, twice, three times, or four times, and that
So
gives
you're not
you
getting any of the flavory things that you're normally getting.
Yeah, I mean maybe a little bit, but instead of like a vanilla bomb, you're getting like some baking spices, some toastiness. And I think that the one thing that for me that really kind of jumps out is the integration of oak is fantastic. And so you do get a little bit of kind of these like cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice kind of qualities to the wine. The fruit really comes through, but there's also this kind of sponty smokiness to the wine that I
it's so savory.
Absolutely adore.
Yeah. I mean, if you're smelling this wine and you're like, this is very unusual. I've only ever had California Pinot Noir. I've only ever had Oregon Pinot Noir. This smells nothing like that. You're right. It doesn't. I mean, there might be a handful of examples, but they are very much the outliers.
Yeah.
This is the first word that I would use to describe it is it's a savory Pinot. And if this is something you enjoy, you should use that word when you're out and about. I like something a little more savory versus fruity because they can kind of run the gamut, right? And then from there, we can talk about some of those, savory characteristics. I love that you mentioned some of the baking spices in here. There's to me, this is like mushroom central. So like these beautiful chanterelles that you're getting in there. There's like a meaty quality to it, like almost like a bone broth thing going on. There's like something salty in there, like you just keep going into it. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some fruit. There's a lot of fruit there as well.
There's a lot of fruit, especially on the palate. Like I feel like most of the fruit is on the palate, but the nose really does. It has this whole gambit of things. And I think for a lot of people, what they love about that is it takes them to a certain place or a time. I had tasted through with a sommelier in San Diego, and we had tasted through the wines, and I was like, let me know what you think. And I mentioned the same things, right? It's got this woodsy, like rhubarby quality. There's some mushroom notes. And she's like, she had just moved from Oregon, and it was like emotional for her because she's like, this takes me back to doing early morning mushroom harvests, like in the Yosemite Hills. And I was like, that makes sense. Like hunting for morels early in the morning because you have a little bit of this kind of like dewy, like woodsy quality to it. And for her, it took her to this like specific place. And I love that. And that's really what wine should do is like
good wine.
Good wine. Yeah. But you never really get that with just those fruit characteristics when something's just fruity and you're like strawberry and cherry and blackberry, like it never really takes you to a place. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's really those non-fruit characteristics that are taking you to experiences that you've had that really resonate with you.
I think once you start tasting Pinot Noir at a certain quality that shows its place, like the one here, it changes you. And it's really hard to drink Pinot Noir once you've gotten to that point because you're like, well, I know what else is. It's like going to Italy and having pizza there for the first time. You come back, we're like, well, this is shit. I don't want to have pizza again. Yeah. I've seen the top of the mountain. And I think that's why people get so sucked into Pinot and into Burgundy. And then, but I think this is also what makes German Pinot Noir so exciting is, it's such a big place and there's so many different expressions of it. And this is just such a special bottle.
That's what I'm saying about those experiences of like what are the best Pinot Noirs that I've had. For me, it's not about like, oh, this was the best. It's about those that stick out, Chad, Chad Melville really well.
Yeah. Love Chad Melville.
Chad's the man.
Makes killer Pinot.
Amazing Pinot. And all of his Pinot Noir is very, it's hands off. He shows the site. And he's got his Sandy's, plot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
It's one of my favorite bottlings. Like all of his wine is great, but that's another one of those wines that you had. You're like, oh man, I mean, you get it. And when Pinot grows in sand, it really takes down the curtain. You see it like almost in its raw form. And he's so good about doing nothing, right? More or less. I mean, it's really like, he's so good about being like, this is this place. And I shouldn't say doing nothing because it really is, there's a lot of work that goes into doing less and looking at, okay, what's the best way? Are we going to do pump overs or punch downs or whatever,
Right.
you know?
Well, and like any great Pinot, most of the work is going to be in the vineyard. It's not going to be in the winery. It's going to be, getting those vines to a place where they can optimize for how they're growing, and, whether that's figuring out a dry farming situation or whether that's, more pruning or whatever it is, the farming is so critical when it comes to Pinot. And I think it's why it's so important when you go to a place like Rings and you see that like that's something they pay attention to, because there's so little that you can do to make Pinot taste good if the farming and the growing isn't there,
Even the things that you do, like anything from the amount of stem inclusion to oak to just the little things in the vineyard site or in the winemaking process, spontaneous fermentation versus selected yeast.
Yeah.
And, each of those things really do, they play a role. And I think for them, spontaneous fermentation is first and foremost. There is a little bit of a reductive style to the Rings wines.
Ooh, let's unpack that word, because I'm sure a lot of people do not know what that means.
Yeah, so reductive is the antithesis of oxidative, right? And so it's really keeping out oxygen during the winemaking process. And there's a ton of different ways to do it. You get this purity in the wine, but when you talk about reduction in terms of flavor profile, it usually will come across as kind of this gunflinty, slightly smoky quality.
Like you just struck a match. That
Exactly.
Initial, that if you strike a match right now, get it not too close to your nose, but like that first millisecond where it's like kind of sweet and the sulfur isn't quite coming out. It's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
And when it's good, it's so good. And this wine definitely has a nice amount of reduction on it. And I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great. And you get ageability from it. And they've kind of gone back and forth. I mean, this is still a young winery, but they've gone back and forth about how, like, are they doing too much? Are they doing too little? They'll really look at, if let's say if you're making wine in a really delicate way and you're just doing pump overs and you're not doing any punch downs with the must, you're not creating a lot of air in there. You're going to make a more reductive style. And so they will, like, towards the end of fermentation, they'll start doing some punch downs and they'll start getting some air in there so that it is a little bit more expressive. It's not too reductive on the palate, that you are getting some fruit, not just that kind of like smoky, woodsy quality. And I think that what they're doing, they've found that perfect balance, and we hear it from everywhere. I love really one of the first introductions into Rings. One of my first times having this wine was with Conrad Solway in the Baden region. And it was one of my first times to Germany. And we had spent all day in his vineyards, in his winery, tasting through all of his wines. And we ended up going to this fantastic dinner in Oberrottweil. And he walks in and immediately he asks the sommelier, "Do you have any more Rings available?" And we were like,
I love that.
And we were like, we are aware of this one. What do you think about this winery? And he says they make some of the best Pinot Noir in all of Germany. And I was taken aback because, I was like, you make some of the best Pinot Noir in Germany. Why? And he's like, I love it. And the sommelier came back and he's like, Mr. Solway, we have one bottle left. And it was like the last bottle. And from that moment, I think Jenna and myself and Stefan, we were all very excited about going to the winery and tasting through.
I had this thought as you were talking, and we were talking about reduction, because we, like I mentioned before, we did an episode a few months ago, Julia Coney, and the wine featured on that episode was the Dog Point Pinot Noir from New Zealand, which is another place that people don't often associate. Kind of like Sancerre, we always think of New Zealand as Sauvignon Blanc. We don't associate it necessarily with Pinot Noir. And New Zealand Pinot Noir is delicious. And, very coastal. And to me, in a lot of ways, very reminiscent of like Santa Barbara Pinot. But I think if anyone still has a bottle of that, to do that side by side with the Rings Pinot Noir would be so fun, because they show, you can kind of see Pinot Noir as this very light bodied, very true to its form, true to its place grape, but you will see the difference in terroir here. You will see what we're talking about in terms of like this very savory profile, mushroomy, earthy, that bone brothy reduction in the Rings Pinot. And if you open the Dog Point one, you'll see that there's still like great acidity, great freshness, very light, all the qualities that we talked about with Pinot Noir at the top of the show, but you'll see there's more fruit there. And it's, it's this like tart red cranberry, and there's like a whisper of something sun-kissed in there. And that's, the really beautiful thing about Pinot Noir is that it can be done so well. And it would be fun to see those side by side. I know outside you drink, promiscuously as I do.
Yeah, I love that Pinot Noir, by the way. I think it's
so good.
The Dog Point. And they're also committed to like spontaneous fermentation, and I think it rings, like the tone, like really like we're related to music. The tone of Dog Point is just, it's a higher tone.
Yes.
Whereas like Rings is kind of just like down here, and it's like there's nothing wrong with either. They're both great in their own respective ways. Yep. But yeah, I love that Pinot Noir. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's so good. Where else are you drinking Pinot from these days? I know you mentioned Patagonia, which I'm a big fan of as well.
I think it definitely needs to be a part of the conversation. The Bodega Chacra wines are fantastic.
I just bought two. I think they were available in Wine Access last week. They may not be any still, but I did buy them.
Oh my God. They are.
They're so good.
Anybody listening, if you can find them. I mean, because like all the songs, like we try not to gatekeep. Gatekeeping is bad, but then also when we talk about things and then all of a sudden,
but also we're Psalms and we're poor.
Yeah, so save some for the rest of us. But those wines are hard to come by, and they're fantastic. And I think looking at that, Jean-Marc Rouleau did. He saw that the potential in those wines, and then did a collaboration bottling with them. And it's Jean-Marc Rouleau. I mean, this is like he is Burgundy royalty, and he's going down to Patagonia. And on one of those trips, he actually took one of the Rebholz twins. He took Hans Rebholz with him down when they did that little collaboration. That's and cool. Hans, it's great. But Hans Rebholz says, I love him. He's fantastic. But he has spent a lot of his time, he's worked under a lot of different people in Burgundy. Both the twins have worked under, Dominique Lafon, Armand Rousseau, or at the winery at least, with his son and his granddaughter. But, they spent a lot of time kind of working at all these famous wineries. And they had no idea that when they were going down to Patagonia, they would be living in like tents. There was like one outhouse for everyone.
Oh.
Yeah, it was. It is
that's a vibe.
It is a crazy. Yeah, you have like one trip down to the market. You get everything you need, and it's like for a week. You aren't able to go anywhere. Like if you're like you forgot deodorant, you are without deodorant for the entire week. Yeah, and so to have like Jean-Marc Rouleau go down there, and then Hans Rebholz and have them both come back and be like, yeah, this is it. This is the place. They're doing it. Obviously low intervention, and still these wines are just showing up beautifully with incredible elegance, amazing length. I mean, it's exactly the way that Pinot Noir wants to be made and shown. And so I'm really excited about those wines. There's also within, believe it or not, Tasmania. I don't. Have you had any?
I'll champion Tasmania all day. You, me, and Mark Davidson are on that train.
It's crazy stormy out there. I mean, and it's incredible that anything grows. But if anything could and can, it's grapevines. Yeah. But the Pinot Noir growing in Tasmania is fantastic, and also these areas that aren't getting, they're not on the cover of Wine Spectator. They're rather affordable for what they are. Right. There's a small producer, Devil's Corner, that is those wines are so they're affordable. Great. Yep. I poured it by the glass for like $10 a glass at a small little place a while back, and everyone loved it, and they were like, "Where is this from?" I'm like, Tasmania. Like, in Africa? I'm like, no, what? Yeah. No, that was always nobody even knows where Tanzania. It is. And so it's one of those. I think that those are the wines that I'm kind of the most excited for in terms of Pinot Noir.
Yeah, I'm with you. Those are my top two. I mean, Germany was certainly a revelation. you hear about obviously German Pinot, and it's something, but it's just something you don't see here a lot. You're going to see it more, obviously, courtesy of you guys, which is great. But Tasmanian Pinot and Chardonnay, for that matter, are incredible. And there's a huge reason why there's so much great sparkling coming out of there as well.
Yeah.
Because it's great Pinot and Chardonnay. And I think we will probably be having a sparkling from Tasmania coming up in the Podcast Wine Club shortly.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. I've been working on it for a little while. Yeah.
Cool.
I will, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I'll shout out Michigan because I know it's not a place a lot of people think of for Pinot, but there's some great Pinot being produced closer to the lakes. So like the Lake Michigan shore area, there's a producer out there called Stranger Wine Co. And they're awesome doing like minimal intervention, organic farming. To me, it's like, if you're hunting for great Pinot, you can like start with the farming first. Like if you want a great producer, like look for someone who really, really values farming, that like, isn't greenwashing and saying all, BS, but like really getting in there and talking, like geeking out. Like the more information, the better, would be my recommendation. If you're looking for a Pinot from other places that's going to crush, like that's the thing that you want to see listed first, not like what their barrel program is. Like that's not what you want to see.
or anything else. Like, if they're talking about the flavor profile or like, this was the inspiration behind our label, like who cares? It does not matter. Like
Pinot does not give a shit. Pinot is like, all we care about is how we feel in the ground and how we feel in the air. Everything else is like, whatever.
Yeah. Like I love what, Radio Coteau does. Eric Sisson, I think does such a phenomenal job. And it's most of the time, I mean, it's so easy for him to start talking about the different animal programs that he has before he like he'll move away from the vineyard side completely and start talking about like the cat program. I mean, like, oh, we just started this bee program. And so we've got bees on the property that this is what they, and it's like, they are farmers. Like they are about this little micro ecosystem that they've created. And the wine is like kind of just a cog in that, but the wine that's being produced is like incredible. Palo Bea is also a great example. Like they are more committed to the rest of their farm than they are kind of the wine. But you see it, and they are like 9 times out of 10, they are some of the best wines being produced. But you go there, and you will spend hours in the vineyard site and 10, 15 minutes in the winery, and they'll be like, "These are the barrels."
Bye. What are we eating with Pinot? What are some of your favorite outside of cheesesteaks now?
Just because it's the first thing that came to mind, and we've been doing it. We've done it twice this week as a Pinot pairing. Is duck. I love duck with Pinot.
You're eating duck twice in a week?
We are. We had duck twice this week with Pinot. We did seared duck breast at Ungrafted.
Okay. So someone is preparing this for you. You're not going home and be like, ducks for dinner.
Yeah, I'm not firing off duck breast. And,
all right, I don't know.
A weekend out. I wish. Yeah, talk to Jenna. She'll immediately tell you for me to go out and buy some duck breast. But no, we were up in San Francisco and did duck breast with some Hohensulzen Spätburgunder from Battenfeld-Spanier, which is incredible, now available in the country. Brand new producer out of the Rheinhessen that is producing incredible Pinot Noir, once again grown on limestone. And then at Bacchus, we did the same thing, same wine, and we did a duck schnitzel, which was
hell yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was really, really good. But yeah, there is something with duck. Pinot Noir complements in a really great way without overpowering it. And so if you're using really good quality duck that's made beautifully, it works really well. And especially with the acidity in Pinot Noir, if you're like kind of rendering off that fat, as we all do with the duck breast, the acid kind of cuts through that fat and really kind of accentuates the meat characters. the purity of the duck, in a really fantastic way. But again, Pinot Noir, it's the cheat code. It's the thing that, I mean, if I'm going out and, I mean, with this alone, it's like, this is what I would have with like a really good Philly cheesesteak.
Hell yeah.
All Philly cheesesteaks are now ruined for me because of you. But
okay.
This is still something that, it's not a bad thing. I'm not mad about it. But yeah, this is something like if you're at home and you open up this bottle and you're like, what should we have tonight? I mean, the options really are kind of endless. I mean, you don't want to do it with a light salad.
I'm actually not, I'm not with you on that. I was actually going to say, because I loved, and I'm specifically talking about the Rings Pinot, not all Pinot, but I loved dinner in the cellar there and having all those different salad. Like, I don't want just a salad, but like a salad with like a great vinaigrette, maybe some like lardons on there. I think there was some like sliced radish, like a salad that like, somebody treated well. Like, don't order a side salad and expect it to pair.
Yeah.
Like something that somebody treated well. And you like this kind of like French picnic style of eating where there's like lots of different things going on. I actually think like the acidity of a salad with like a little protein, like a salad lyonnais. Woo!
Yeah.
Just perfection.
Good. So you're taking me saying everything and you're like, except salad. And you're like, no, everything.
Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was like, it's not a natural, like no one's going to sit down and be like salad and Pinot, but like in that setting. And I think with other foods, it worked so well. And I think it was in a lot of ways the better choice over the white wine because it almost was like the protein to salad.
Totally. No, absolutely. I do agree with that. Yeah. And I would argue that like a good beet salad would probably be incredible with this, especially with like some like crispy like speck on top. Yeah, it would be really nice.
Actually, you know what? I think the night that I decided on the Rings Pinot, I think I had texted you guys. I think I had texted you and Jenna because I have to go back through my archives. I am actually fairly certain I had it with the salad and I had it with, if you've ever, I don't know, we all know that I'm a big Costco girl. We've established that in the trip.
Love that for you.
Love that for me. There is a salad. It's the celery and green salad at Costco. You buy it in like the refrigerator. It actually comes in like a tub. It's not pre-dressed. You like shake it up. There's like an apple cider vinaigrette that you pour on it. I do that. I do a jammy egg. And then we love a jammy egg. And then I warm the dressing also because I like a warm dressing and it's so good.
It is. That's a solid hack too.
Yes. Yeah. And then I got, have you ever gotten those, like the Just Bear chicken, fillets? They're so good. And then Kirkland makes their own brand, which is also very good. You throw that in the air fryer and then you slice it up almost like schnitzel style. And I put that on top of the salad and I had it with a glass Pinot. It was some of my finest work, honestly.
Good. It sounds great. I'm very hungry.
It was delicious.
Sorry. After this is over, I'm eating. It sounds phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah. I should have warned people in the lead up email. Hey, like we're going to talk about food a lot. Have a snack.
Yeah. Have a snack or eat before.
So that would be my recommendation, the Costco hack.
Yeah. I mean, and I think too, that's like the other thing with like being able to have red wine in summer, bringing it full circle.
Yeah.
Like you can have red wine with these things that you also want to eat in the summer. Like on a hot day, like chill this down and have it with like a fun salad that's got some cool protein on it, and it'll be really nice.
Look at us snacking away and drinking Pinot. Zach, thank you so much. I'm so excited. We've had just a true German wine love affair on this show, and I'm not apologizing for it. There's more coming, in fact. So.
No,
this is
I love it.
That you don't want to be on. I'm sorry, but I'm so excited about what's happening in Germany. And I'm so grateful that you and the German Wine Collection team have been such great champions and stewards of the wines. And I genuinely would not have known about any of these. And it is, unless it was for you. And it has been just the joy, one of the joys of my career to get to know Germany in the way that I have, because the wines are they're so fun. And they're so delicious.
Oh
So
man,
affordable.
that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was my experience. I mean, it was always a tough decision kind of coming over to this side, but yeah, I was, Jenna used to sell me these wines and I kind of fell in love with them in the same way. And it became so exciting and
Yeah.
cool. I'm really glad that we got to kind of do that for you, and kind
Yes.
of bring you on the crew. And it is,
I'm
it
a
is
convert.
yeah, it's a really exciting time for German wine. And we are trying to do our best to focus on just top quality and making sure that if you're having something from our portfolio, that it is going to be the best representation of that varietal from that area. And yeah, and make it fun and exciting and approachable
Yeah.
and easy. And that's really where you shine. So we appreciate you
Wow.
for that.
Happy to be there to simplify,
Yeah.
uncomplicate,
Make it
but
exciting.
seriously, but this is why we always talk so much about, like, flip the label over, check to see who the importers are, trust your importers, get to know your importers. Like, it's just, when you're talking about wines that are not from the United States and you're living in the United States, like, it really truly is the hack. And when you've got
It
people
is.
like
Yeah.
you leading the charge,
Yeah.
makes
No,
my
it
job
was,
real easy.
yeah. I wish somebody had told me that hack. I mean, way sooner into my
I
career.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, it really is the best way because now it's like I find myself doing it all the time. If I see something on the shelf that I'm like, huh, never seen this before, and you flip it over and it's like, Martines or like Kermit Lynch, and you're like,
Yeah.
Kermit Lynch,
Yeah.
when did you start bringing this in? And like,
Say
I'm buying it.
less.
I'm buying it immediately,
Yeah.
and so it really does make a difference because you know that your importers are doing everything in their power. They're putting in all the work to make sure that these wines make the most sense. And even if they pick up a producer, they're only bringing in the wines that are the best. And so it is pretty cool to kind of explain that to people.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thank you so much. For those of you who are not members of the Wine Access Unfiltered podcast Wine Club, the gist is you get 4 bottles every other month sent to you, curated by me. And it's $120 plus tax, but includes shipping. You get 10% off all of your Wine Access purchases. So you can buy extra bottles of this or Dog Point New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Bodega Chakra.
Bodega Chakra, yes. See, it would have made that Bodega Chakra a little bit cheaper than it already was. So I'm just saying there's a lot of benefits. And then, of course, we talk about the wine. You learn about a little something extra, get a free education if you so choose. Or you can just never turn this on and know about what's going on in your glass. And that's also acceptable. Zach, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Of course, appreciate you.
I wish you a wonderful rest of your summer. I hope to see you soon, whether it's in Philly or elsewhere. And I promise next time I see you, I will have a cheesesteak in hand because I realize that I am responsible for your cheesesteak.
You are.
Yeah, whatever you would
My
call
future
that.
consumptions of cheesesteaks because I can't have them anywhere else anymore.
Yeah. Once you
Excellent.
go Philly,
booking
you never
my
go
ticket.
back.
Yeah, booking my ticket now. It'll be great. Buying a home. Thank you so much. You are the best. Love what you do.
Appreciate you.
And I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.